You know what's kind of strange? We never stop talking about boomers. We analyze millennials like they're a puzzle. We study Gen Z like they're from another planet. But there's one generation that everyone forgets. They sit right in the middle, almost invisible, almost silent. Generation X. Born between 1965 and 1980, here's what no one ever tells you. Their psychology is the most powerful and the most ignored. And once you understand it, you will see them everywhere. Let's go back. It's 1979. You're 9 years old. School lets out at 3 p.m. Your mom and dad are both working. There's no other option. You walk home by yourself. No phone. No GPS. No adult watching. You open the door with a key on a string around your neck. The house is empty. You make a sandwich. You turn on the TV. You wait. A study in the Journal of Family Issues found that by the early 80s, over 40% of kids came home to no one. That's millions of children learning one hard truth. No one is coming to save you. That empty house rewired their brains. Psychologists call it a high contingency environment. That means your actions have real consequences immediately. If you break something, you fix it. If you forget your key, you sit outside. No one bails you out. No one softens the fall. That's why Gen X thinks differently. They run scenarios in their head before they speak. They have been predicting outcomes since elementary school. Younger generations ask why Gen X is so blunt. The answer is simple. They never had time for politeness. Now watch this. Gen X watched every adult around them break promises. Parents promised forever, then divorced. The divorce rate doubled in their childhood. Teachers promised hard work pays off, then factories closed. Presidents promised safety, then lied about wars. Watergate, Iran-Contra, the AIDS crisis handled too late. One betrayal after another. By the time they were teenagers, they had a new rule. Trust no institution. Expect nothing. Psychologists call this defensive pessimism. Gen X calls it Tuesday. But here's the twist. That pessimism is not weakness. It's armor. They built a shield around themselves. And the strongest part of that shield is privacy. Think about this. When Gen X messed up, only a few people knew. Maybe 3 friends in a basement. No camera phones. No Facebook. No screenshots that last forever. That taught them something valuable. Invisibility keeps you safe. So when social media exploded, they didn't jump in. They looked at it and said, why would I post my life for strangers? It's not that they hate technology. They built the technology. They coded the internet you use right now, but they understand risk better than anyone alive. You want to know where their irony came from? Look at what they watched as kids. Saturday morning cartoons had after-school specials about drug abuse. Then the news showed nuclear war drills. Duck and cover under a wooden desk. Everyone knew a desk wouldn't stop a bomb, so they learned to laugh. When the world is crazy, you either cry or make a joke. They chose the joke. Irony became their language. Sarcasm became their love. And that famous whatever attitude? That's not apathy. That's survival. You can't get hurt if you never expected much. Now let's talk about work. Because Gen X confuses everyone at the office. They never post about their hustle. No LinkedIn bragging. No humble brags about grinding at 4 a.m. They just work. Quietly, completely. And then they leave. This came from jobs that barely exist anymore. Paper routes in the dark at 5 a.m. Bagging groceries and making change in your head. By age 12, a Gen Xer had handled money, argued with angry customers, and fixed a bike chain with a paperclip. That builds quiet competence. The kind that doesn't need a trophy. That's why they hate fake workers. If you have a big title but can't do the job, they will never respect you. Here's a paradox that confuses everyone. Gen X is the most independent generation and also the most quietly helpful. They will never ask for help. Never. Asking feels like losing. But if you need help, they show up at midnight with tools and beer. They move your furniture without posting about it. They solve your problem and vanish. Why? Because as kids, their friends were their only safety net. When parents were gone, friends became family. Those bonds are deep. They just won't talk about them. Now let's talk money. Gen X has been destroyed by the economy more than any generation since the 1930s. The oldest started working just before Black Monday 1987. The middle ones watched the dot-com bubble erase their savings. The youngest graduated into the 2008 crash. Then, right when they recovered, COVID hit. So now you see Gen X with side hustles. Not because they love the grind, but because they learned that one job is one disaster away from vanishing. They aren't entrepreneurs. They're survivors. When the next recession hits, they don't panic. They just move to Plan G. But self-reliance has a dark side. Research in the Journal of Adult Development found that Gen Xers rarely ask for support during stress. Not because they have no one to call, but because asking feels like admitting defeat. They white-knuckle through divorce, through illness, through job loss, silently holding everything together until they crack. And too often, they crack alone. This is the shadow of the Latchkey kid. The belief that you must never be a burden, that you handle everything yourself. And if you can't, you're weak. Now, here's something wild about the Gen X brain. Before the internet, if you wanted an answer, you had to hunt. You walked to the library. You pulled out the card catalog. That effort changed your memory. Cognitive psychologists call it deep encoding. The harder your brain works for information, the stickier it stays. Gen X still remembers phone numbers from 1987. They can find their way without GPS. They can fix a car because they had to. This isn't nostalgia. It's a different kind of brain, and it makes them incredible at detecting lies. Now the painful part. Gen X swore they would never raise their kids like they were raised. No empty houses. No emotional neglect. They became helicopter parents. Soccer practice every day. Homework help every night. They gave their kids everything they never got. And now, they worry they messed up the other way. They watch their kids fail and crumble. They wonder if all that protection made them soft. Because in the Gen X mind, struggle makes you strong. But they couldn't stand to watch their own kids struggle. So they're trapped between two worlds, the hard world that shaped them and the soft world they built. And they don't know which one was right. Here's the truth. Generation X is the bridge between analog and digital, between being alone with your thoughts and never being alone at all. They know how to be bored, how to fix things without YouTube, how to sit in silence. They aren't better than anyone else, just different. Shaped by a moment when the old world was dying and the new one hadn't been born yet. Bridges never get attention. They just hold everything up while everyone walks across. And that's the most Gen X thing ever. Doing the work. Expecting nothing. Not caring if anyone notices. But maybe it's time we noticed. If this hit you right, hit subscribe. And if you want more deep psychology dives, stick around. I've got a lot more to say.